Have you ever wondered why some families seem to maintain wealth for generations, while others work tirelessly their entire lives just to make ends meet? What's the difference between these two families? It's not luck, and it's certainly not how hard they worked. I remember sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table when I was 19, watching her count pennies to pay her electric bill after working 45 years as a nurse. That same week, I met a college friend whose grandfather had never worked a day in his life, yet funded his grandchildren's education without a second thought. The shocking truth is that building wealth has almost nothing to do with your salary and everything to do with what you own. While most people focus on earning a higher salary, the truly wealthy focus on acquiring assets that pay them while they sleep. What if I told you that your job might actually be keeping you poor? That sounds crazy, right? But consider this. The average millionaire has 7 income streams, and a regular job is usually only one of them, if they have one at all. In today's video, I'm going to share 8 powerful assets that create generational wealth. The kind of wealth that doesn't just support you, but can transform your family's financial trajectory for decades to come. I'll break down exactly how each asset works, share real examples of how ordinary people have used them, and give you actionable steps to start building your own asset portfolio, regardless of your current financial situation. By the end, you'll understand why the wealthy don't work for money. They make their money work for them. And more importantly, you'll know how to start doing the same. Let's dive into the first and perhaps most powerful asset class. Asset number 1, business ownership. What's the single most common trait among the world's billionaires? It's not high intelligence, exceptional education, or even extraordinary luck. It's business ownership. Over 70% of the people on the Forbes billionaire list are self-made entrepreneurs who built businesses that continue to generate wealth whether they're actively working or not. But here's what most people miss about entrepreneurship. The goal isn't to create a job for yourself. It's to build a system that generates revenue without your constant involvement. There's a profound difference between owning a business and being self-employed. Take my friend Marcus, who started as a freelance graphic designer. He worked 60-hour weeks and earned a decent living. But the moment he stopped working, his income stopped too. He was self-employed, but he had essentially created another job for himself. Everything changed when he shifted his mindset from doing the work to building a business system. Instead of designing for clients himself, he created standardized processes, hired other designers, and focused on marketing and client acquisition. Within 3 years, his business generated $42,000 monthly, while requiring just 10 hours of his time per week. This shows us a fundamental difference between employees, self-employed individuals who have to trade time for money, and business owners and investors who create systems that generate money even while they sleep. The beauty of business ownership is that you don't need to start the next Amazon. Local service businesses, e-commerce stores, or even content creation can build substantial wealth when structured properly. The key is creating systems and teams that allow the business to function without your constant involvement. What business could you start based on your existing skills or interests? Think about it and drop a comment below with your ideas. I read every comment and try to respond to as many as possible. Now, let's explore another powerful asset class that has created more millionaires than perhaps any other. Asset number 2, real estate. Ever wonder why nearly every wealthy person you know owns real estate? It's because real estate offers something almost magical: the ability to use other people's money to build your wealth. This concept, called OPM, other people's money, is what makes real estate so powerful. When you buy a rental property with a mortgage, you're using the bank's money for most of the purchase. Then your tenant pays that mortgage, plus your expenses, while the property appreciates over time. Let me break down how this creates multiple streams of wealth simultaneously. First, you have cash flow, the monthly rental income minus your expenses and mortgage payment. Even a modest property can generate a few $100s monthly in positive cash flow. Second, you benefit from loan paydown. Every month, your tenants are paying down your mortgage, increasing your equity without costing you a dime. Third, you get tax advantages. Real estate investors can deduct expenses, depreciate their properties, and defer capital gains through 1031 exchanges. Fourth, you benefit from appreciation. Historically, real estate values have increased about 3 to 4% annually on average, though this varies by location. I remember interviewing David, a school teacher who started investing in real estate at 32. He bought one small rental property using an FHA loan with just 3.5% down. 5 years later, he owned 7 units generating enough monthly income to cover half his teaching salary. By age 45, his real estate portfolio produced more than his teaching job, allowing him to retire early if he chose. The most powerful aspect of real estate is leverage, both financial leverage through mortgages and time leverage through property management. Once your properties are stabilized, you can hire managers to handle day-to-day operations, creating truly passive income. Of course, real estate requires research and careful planning, but few other assets offer its combination of cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits, and leverage. But what if you don't have the time or interest to manage properties? Let's talk about a more hands-off approach to wealth building. Asset number 3, paper assets. When most people think about investing, stocks and bonds immediately come to mind. These paper assets represent ownership in businesses or loans that generate returns without requiring your active involvement, making them perfect for busy professionals who don't have time to manage a business or real estate portfolio. The beauty of paper assets is their accessibility. You can start investing with as little as $100 through platforms like Robinhood or Vanguard, and the entire process can be automated to require almost no time commitment. But here's where most people go wrong with paper assets. They focus on trading rather than investing. There's a profound difference between the two. Trading is trying to time the market, buying low and selling high based on short-term price movements. This is essentially gambling and rarely leads to sustainable wealth. Investing, on the other hand, means acquiring ownership in great businesses and holding them for the long term, allowing compound interest to work its magic. As Warren Buffett says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Consider the power of compound growth. If you invest just $500 monthly in a broad market index fund returning the historical average of about 10% annually before inflation, you'll have approximately $1.1 million after 30 years, despite only contributing $180,000 of your own money. The remaining $920,000 comes from compound growth. Sarah, a nurse who never earned more than $85,000 annually, but consistently invested 20% of her income in quality, dividend-paying stocks and index funds. By age 52, her portfolio generated over $4,000 monthly in dividends, nearly enough to cover her essential expenses without touching the principal. For those with limited time, a simple portfolio of low-cost index funds is often the most effective strategy. But you can also create a more sophisticated approach through dividend-paying stocks, REITs, real estate investment trusts, or bonds, depending on your goals and risk tolerance. The key insight about paper assets is consistency. Small investments made regularly over time can grow into substantial wealth through the miracle of compound interest. But what about protecting that wealth once you built it? That brings us to our next asset class. Asset number 4, commodities. We've all heard stories about currencies that became worthless overnight, from the German mark in the 1920s to the Venezuelan bolivar more recently. What many people don't realize is that all fiat currencies, government-issued money not backed by physical commodities, eventually lose value over time. The US dollar has lost over 96% of its purchasing power since 1913. This is why the wealthy don't just accumulate cash. They invest in commodities as a hedge against inflation and economic instability. Kiyosaki refers to these as God's money, physical assets with intrinsic value regardless of what governments or economies do. Gold and silver have served as money for thousands of years across virtually every civilization. Unlike the dollar, euro, or yen, they can't be printed or devalued by central banks. An ounce of gold bought a nice men's suit in ancient Rome, and it still buys a nice men's suit today. That's remarkable stability over 2,000 years. Beyond precious metals, commodities include assets like oil, agricultural products, and other natural resources that remain valuable regardless of currency fluctuations. These assets often perform best during times of economic uncertainty or high inflation, precisely when traditional investments like stocks might struggle. I spoke with Michael, who allocated about 10% of his portfolio to physical gold and silver starting in 2005. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, his precious metals holdings increased by over 150%, while his stock portfolio dropped by 40%. This stability allowed him to maintain his overall wealth and even purchase stocks at bargain prices during the market bottom. The key with commodities isn't to go all in, but rather to use them as portfolio insurance. A typical allocation might be 5 to 15% of your total investment portfolio, depending on your outlook and risk tolerance. For those just starting, physical silver coins represent an accessible entry point. You can begin with just a few $100s and gradually build your position over time. But beyond financial assets, let's talk about perhaps the most valuable asset that each of U.S. possesses. Asset number 5, time. What's the one asset that billionaires like Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos can't buy more of, no matter how wealthy they become? Time. We each have exactly 24 hours per day, making time the great equalizer. The difference between those who build wealth and those who don't often comes down to how they invest these hours. Consider this staggering example of time's value in investing. If you start investing $300 monthly at age 25, you'll have about $1.2 million by age 65, assuming 10% average annual returns. Wait until age 35 to start, and you'll have only about $440,000. Those 10 years cost you over $760,000 in potential wealth. This illustrates what Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. The earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow exponentially. But time's value extends beyond investing. How you spend your non-working hours dramatically impacts your wealth-building potential. The average American spends over 4 hours daily watching television. That's 1,460 hours annually that could be invested in building businesses, learning skills, or creating additional income streams. I interviewed James, who worked full-time as an accountant but dedicated just 10 hours weekly to building an online course teaching Excel skills to financial professionals. During his first year, he earned just $7,200 from the course. By year 3, that same time investment had grown to over $120,000 annually in almost entirely passive income. Time management expert Laura Vanderkam studied the habits of high achievers and found they think about time differently than most people. Instead of viewing time in days, they think in weeks, 168 hours, and allocate their hours intentionally across work, relationships, health, and personal growth. The wealthy understand that trading time directly for money, like in a traditional job, creates a ceiling on your income. There are only so many hours you can work. Instead, they invest time up front to build assets that generate income without their ongoing time investment. What small time investment could you make today that would pay dividends for years to come? Perhaps it's learning about real estate investing, starting a side business, or simply setting up automatic investments. These small actions compound just like money does. Speaking of investments that pay dividends for decades, let's discuss one that many people completely overlook. Asset number 6, health. When we talk about building wealth, health rarely enters the conversation. Yet poor health can destroy wealth faster than almost anything else. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in America, and chronic health conditions can severely limit your earning potential and life enjoyment. The wealthy understand that health is a financial asset worth investing in. Billionaire Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, once said, "The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily." Poor health is perhaps the most disruptive interruption to your wealth-building journey. Think about it this way. What good is having millions in the bank if you're too sick to enjoy it? Or what if your wealth-building journey is cut short by preventable health issues? The financial returns on health investments are extraordinary. Studies show that regular exercise not only extends lifespan, but also improves cognitive function, productivity, and energy levels, all of which enhance your earning potential. One study found that regular exercisers earn 5 to 10% more than their sedentary colleagues, even when controlling for other factors. Proper nutrition similarly pays dividends. Research suggests that a healthy diet improves focus, reduces sick days, and increases productivity. The estimated ROI on company wellness programs ranges from $3 to $6 for every $1 invested. Imagine a return when you invest in your own health. I interviewed Maria, who invested in a personal trainer at age 35, spending $500 monthly, a significant sum given her $65,000 salary. Within a year, her energy and confidence had increased so dramatically that she secured a new position earning $95,000. She credits her improved health as a catalyst that gave her the stamina and presence to excel in the interview process and subsequent job performance. The compounding effect of health works similarly to financial investments. Small, consistent actions, daily exercise, proper nutrition, adequate sleep, and stress management build up over decades. The difference between someone who exercises regularly for 30 years versus someone who does is profound, both in quality of life and medical expenses. Remember, wealth isn't just about having money. It's about having the health and energy to enjoy and continue building that money for years to come. With your health optimized, let's explore a modern asset class that's created more millionaires in the past decade than perhaps any other. Asset number 7, online assets. 20 years ago, building a business that reached millions of people required massive capital investment. Today, you can reach a global audience with nothing more than a smartphone and internet connection. This democratization of reach has created an entirely new asset class, online assets. Online assets include websites, YouTube channels, social media accounts, online courses, software, apps, and digital products. Unlike traditional businesses, these assets typically have low or zero startup costs, unlimited scaling potential, no geographical constraints, minimal overhead expenses, the ability to generate income 24/7. The beauty of online assets is that they can start small and grow exponentially. Take YouTube, for instance. A channel that makes just $100 monthly in its first year might generate $10,000 monthly by year 3 with the same amount of content, simply due to the compounding effect of subscribers, algorithmic favor, and back catalog views. I interviewed Tyler, who started a YouTube channel about personal finance while working as a bank teller earning $35,000 annually. His first videos barely reached 100 views each. 3 years later, his channel generates over $30,000 monthly through ad revenue, affiliate marketing, and his own financial courses, far exceeding his previous salary for fewer hours worked. What makes online assets particularly powerful is their permanence. Unlike service businesses where your work is done and paid for once, digital content continues generating returns indefinitely. A blog post, YouTube video, or online course created years ago can still produce income today with no additional effort. For those concerned about technical skills, remember that content is about solving problems for specific audiences, not perfect production. Many of the most successful online creators focus on delivering genuine value rather than polished presentation. To start building online assets, identify problems you can solve based on your existing knowledge and experience. What questions do people ask you regularly? What skills have you developed in your career or hobbies? The intersection of your expertise and others' needs is where profitable online assets begin. But no wealth-building strategy exists in isolation, which brings us to our final and perhaps most overlooked asset. Asset number 8, your network. Your network is your net worth. This saying exists for good reason. The people you surround yourself with dramatically influence your access to opportunities, information, and resources essential for building wealth. Studies consistently show that your income tends to approximate the average income of your 5 closest friends. This isn't about shallow networking or transactional relationships. It's about connecting with people who elevate your thinking and expose you to new possibilities. Consider how most people find their best opportunities, rarely through cold applications or anonymous submissions. Rather, meaningful opportunities usually come through connections, someone who knows your capabilities and connects you with the right situation. The wealthy understand this principle deeply. They intentionally build relationships with people who have achieved what they aspire to achieve. These connections provide mentorship, insider knowledge, and access to opportunities rarely available to the general public. I interviewed Elena, who grew up in a working-class family, but joined a local entrepreneurship group in her city. Through relationships developed there, She found investors for her first business, met her business partner, and accessed customers she never would have reached otherwise. She credits these relationships as the primary accelerant of her journey from employee to successful business owner. Building a powerful network doesn't require an elite background or existing connections. It starts with adding value to others without expectation of immediate return. Share your knowledge, make introductions, support others' initiatives. These actions create reciprocity that eventually returns multiplied benefits. Practical network building strategies include joining industry associations and attending their events, participating in mastermind groups focused on your interests, volunteering for organizations aligned with your values, reaching out to people you admire with specific, thoughtful questions, creating content that showcases your knowledge and perspective. Remember that meaningful network building is a long-term investment. The relationships you cultivate today might not yield financial return for years, but when they do, the impact can be transformative. As we've explored these 8 powerful assets: business ownership, real estate, paper assets, commodities, time, health, online assets, and your network, one fundamental truth emerges. Sustainable wealth rarely comes from working harder at your job. It comes from building and owning assets that generate income whether you're working or not. The paradigm shift from working for money to having money work for you represents the essential difference between the financially free and those trapped in the perpetual cycle of trading time for money. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow and go all in on entrepreneurship. Most wealth journeys begin with small, consistent steps taken alongside traditional employment. Start by allocating a percentage of your income to acquiring assets. Then gradually increase this allocation as your asset income grows. The most powerful insight I hope you take from this video is that building wealth is about ownership, not income. High income can disappear instantly through job loss, disability, or economic downturn. Ownership of cash-flowing assets provides security that no job can match. Which of these 8 assets resonated most with you? Are you already building any of them in your life? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your perspective might inspire others who are just beginning their wealth-building journey. If you found value in this video, please hit the like button and share it with someone who could benefit from this information. Subscribe for more content on building sustainable wealth and financial freedom. Remember, the journey to wealth isn't about making dramatic changes overnight. It's about making slightly better decisions every day that compound over time. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Your future self will thank you for the assets you begin building today.